Hello, Sandeep.
Yeah, hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, it's pleasure to come to you and talk and connect with me. So, so we are going to start our conversation. So, at first we need to introduce each other so our audience will know. Yeah. So,
Yes, I'm happy to introduce myself. Should I introduce myself now?
yeah, sure.
Great. So, hello everyone. My name is Colin. I'm an American. I live in the state of Texas, which is in the south of the United States. I am a native English speaker, and I am a Hindi as a second language learner. So I lived in India for about 4 years, mostly in the city of Jaipur, and I studied Hindi there. So I've studied Hindi for about 15 years, and I am a Hindi teacher on Preply. There's an app called Preply where you can learn languages from tutors, and I'm a Hindi teacher there on Preply. But not many people want to learn Hindi, so I don't have very many students, unfortunately. And I'm changing my the subjects that I teach. I'm going to start teaching English also. I have a channel on YouTube that I'm going to use in order to teach English, and I'm very excited about that. I'm just starting it now, and so I'll be sure to put the links to the English channel in the description of this video. And just for anyone else who might be interested, I also have a Hindi channel, and the Hindi channel covers various content. It's often about Hindi, but also about things like the Mahabharata, and Indian culture more generally. So if anyone's interested, I'll put the link to the Hindi channel also. So there will be two links in the description of this video. So that's a little bit about me, Sandeep. Please, would you let me know about you?
Yeah, it is really a wonderful introduction where you explain all the things. So that's great. Sounds great. So yeah, let me know myself. So my name is Sandeep, and I hail from Jharkhand. Jharkhand is the state of India. And when we talk about my education, so my major is accounts and finance. Currently, I'm working as a teacher at private school. Uh, and free time, I enjoy reading books, learning languages. Even right now, I'm improving my English, and I will start Spanish and German in 2025. I'm going to start two more language. I want to learn this. So I will start from Jan 2025, and I like to talk with the people from all over the world, and also I like traveling and reading books.
Wonderful.
Reading books
One,
because I'm a kind of book reader. I enjoy reading books, so all on every day I read books.
wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, so just I want to ask some question to being a English teacher, even a Hindi teacher, even you are from USA, and but still you are teaching Hindi on platform like YouTube. So really it is a wonderful. When we talk about Hindi, so a lot of people they don't want to learn Hindi. Even I'm a Hindi native speaker. Whenever I connect to the people, rarely I find some peoples who wants to learn English, but mostly are major people they want to learn English. Even I try to help my subscribers to enhance English language, and I have been learning this language last 6 months. So I expect that in this year I will reach at advanced level where I can understand to native speaker or any people from all over the world. When I connect to the people, I could understand. So so just I want to know some tips, tricks, strategy. What kind of a strategy do you like to share with my subscriber or audience that will they will follow to enhance their language? Because I'm also helping, but you are English teacher, you are native speaker. So native speaker, that means they can share all the things in a perfectly it will be helpful for the audience. So really, it will be wonderful if you share your strategy. Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy to share my strategy with your audience. I think that's a great idea. So, what I recommend is that every day a person learns about 10 new vocabulary words. And they can learn 10 new vocabulary words through different sources. There are many different sources, such as Duolingo or the newspaper or YouTube. Anywhere is fine, but they should learn 10 new words a day. And by learn, I mean they should memorize the definition so that they're comfortable both hearing it and also speaking it. In addition to learning 10 new words a day, I suggest that people write 10 sentences per day. The topic can be about anything. It can be about a movie that they watched, or what the weather is like, or what their job is. It can be about any topic, but they should write about 10 sentences a day. And then after they write the sentences, they should check the grammar of the sentences with Google Translate or any translator. But I like Google Translate. It's a wonderful tool. So, for example, you can type in Hindi what you want to say and then look at the translation that it gives you. And you can compare the translation that it gives you to the sentences that you wrote for your practice sentences. So, that's two things so far, to learn 10 words a day and to practice writing 10 sentences a day. In addition to this, I think most people are concerned with their speaking and their speaking fluency, and they want to be able to speak confidently and fluently. And I think in order to achieve this, they should practice speaking a lot. And lots of times, Indian people tell me that there's not much of an environment in India for practicing English. It's very difficult
Yeah.
to practice English. But I think that maybe there are many people who want to learn English. And so, if you can find someone at tuitions or in a friend group who wants to practice English, that's a great opportunity. In addition to that opportunity, there are language exchange apps like Hello Talk and Tandem on which you can meet people who want to practice speaking English. And I really like voice messages. I think that's my favorite way to practice speaking a language with someone. And so, if every day, in addition to learning 10 new words and writing 10 new sentences, if a person were to try to give 10 voice messages, then they would learn how to speak more fluently and confidently. But I'm pretty sure that a lot of your viewers, they already know grammar. They already know basic grammar. They already have some vocabulary. So what they really need to do is practice writing and speaking. And with this practice, they'll gain confidence. And with the confidence, they'll gain fluency.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Really, it helped to audience to achieve their level. Yeah, and you said, correct, like, India there is no environment. That's why we need to switch on other platform where we can find some people having the same mandate, learning the same languages. So definitely, or it is a kind of journey. We have to stay motivated, or uh, like a discipline or consistency to learn language, or over a period of time we can get the fluency. The one second thing I want to ask you, when we talk about the my level, so my level is at intermediate, I think. So how I reach at advanced or fluency level? What should I do?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. In order to move from intermediate to advanced for fluency, my number one recommendation is practice. But it has to be good practice. And by good practice, I mean you should be checking your grammar with Google Translate. So let's say that you're practicing and then you don't know how to say something. Well, then you can check and make sure. But it really, I think, comes down to practice. The more you practice, the better you'll get at fluency. But there are also other tools that I can mention. So, for example, there's an app called Elsa Speak that I recommend to people. And Elsa Speak is useful for pronunciation. So, in Hindi, for example, there's the letter ta. You're probably familiar with it as in tukna, like I got tired, tuk gaya. So there's that ta. And in English, we have a th that we say the.
Yeah.
And lots of Indians who are unfamiliar with English will say ta instead of the. And that's a pronunciation mistake. And in order to
Yeah.
correct this pronunciation mistake, it's useful to have an app like Elsa Speak that can tell you what you're mispronouncing and how you can correct it. So that's a very useful tool, Elsa Speak. But your number one question, how to go from intermediate to advanced in fluency, again, I think has to do mostly with practice. There are other things you can do, however, like Elsa Speak, but one more maybe I should mention is higher level vocabulary. So in English, we have everyday vocabulary, and then we have something called literary vocabulary. And literary vocabulary are the types of words that are used in novels and the newspaper, and they're usually much more difficult types of words. And so I can give a recommendation. I'll put a link in the description of the channel of a good website for literary vocabulary. But the more advanced vocabulary, the literary vocabulary that you learn, that will also elevate your language from intermediate to advanced. So those are some of the techniques I recommend for that.
Yeah, that's great idea. Actually, I'm doing the same thing. I try to listen to native speakers, and I try to enhance my vocabulary. So that's great. And one more thing I want to ask you: what is the important to talk with native speaker while learning any languages? For example, I learn English right now. So what is the importance of important to connect with native speakers?
Great question. The advantage of connecting with native speakers is that as you said earlier, they say everything correctly or understandably in their own language. So it's a great way to learn because you hear how they pronounce things, how they phrase things, what types of words that they use. There are all sorts of secrets that a native speaker knows about a language that you can learn just by listening to them, just by trying to understand how they use the language. So I think it's crucial. And unfortunately, I think it's difficult for many people to connect to native speakers. Sometimes I talk to people and they say, "Wow, you're my first native English speaker I've ever talked to." And I think,
That's
"Oh,
great.
wow, it's so much fun." I remember the first time I talked to a Hindi speaker. It's so much fun and you learn so much more. So I encourage it, but I understand it's difficult. So people need to have patience and diligence in trying to connect. Even if it's difficult, I think it's worth it on these different platforms like Hello Talk and Tandem.
Yeah, that's great. It's happened. I always remember one girl. Her name is Mary. In last week, she was in India, India, Hyderabad. So actually, see, I had connected in 12 Jan 2024. So I never forget that day. I have connected to that girls, and continuously I had been talking to 1 month or 2 months. So I get fluency where I can talk with the people from any country, even America or US and UK, because I had been talking 2 to 3 months. So I get familiar to talking with native speakers. So whenever I connect to native speaker, I don't feel any hesitation. I could understand totally what they are talking about. So it's all about it. All I get the fluency or this level due to I had talked so many times to native speakers. So native speaker really play important role. Or one thing, when I talk to native speaker, I know the correct pronunciation, correct way to speak. And when I learn to any random guy, I think their pronunciation, their way of speaking is not correct. Sometimes it's create doubts or issue. But when we learn from the master, he's really native speaker or really well educated on that subject, so we feel comfortable. Really, it is so great to connect with native speaker, and I'm really so pleased to find you, to meet with you.
Yes, I'm happy to talk in English, and I'm so excited because this is a great opportunity for both of us to connect and talk about language learning and language teaching. And may I ask you a question? Would you
Yes,
say
sure.
would you say that voice calls with native speakers are the best method for learning?
Voice call. Could you
Yes,
repeat?
voice calls with yes, voice calls with native speakers.
Yeah, voice call with native speaker also a best opportunities. I always talk with native speaker. I have some friends from US, maybe three, four, five, six friends. I don't know the list of friends. So whenever they are free, I try to connect through WhatsApp, audio call, sometime in rarely in video call, but mostly in audio call. So audio call also help. Ultimately, we have to talk. We have to talk in audio, but video call is also necessary. Why? Because we are talking face to face. Ultimately, in my life, in my the current in my real situation, I have to talk face to face. So audio call, video call also play important role, but we don't have enough time to connect video call. Video call is not good for just looking at a screen for long time. So audio call is the good way we can connect and we can talk for long times, maybe for 30 minutes, more than 31 hours, like that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think you make good points.
Yeah. And audio call, in audio call there is a lot of option, even while doing any other works we can talk, but in video call we can't do. We have to be uh, attention or active. We have to look each others and using our facial expression, everything, because in video call then we can be active. Audience will enjoy whenever they will watch our videos. So definitely we have to do like this.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a
And
great
I
point too.
okay, good. And I also want to ask you, what is my English level? What do you think?
Oh, wow. Well, I think that like many people I talk to, you have good grammar and vocabulary, and you're also fluent. I don't think fluency is that hard. I think most people can achieve fluency, and I think that you're definitely fluent, and you're speaking confidently. So that's very good. I'd encourage you to try to use literary vocabulary in your conversations, some of the higher level vocabulary. I think that could enhance your English speaking. But otherwise, it's very good. I've had no problems, and I think that your English is great. So, do you know the different levels? This is one thing I should learn. There are different levels, right? A1, B1. I
Yeah.
think they use these categorizations for IELTS, the English language test. Do you know what level you're at?
I never participated in any test, but according to myself, there is mentioned the rules. I think C1, okay, sorry, A1. A1 is the beginner. A2 is a maybe lower intermediate. B1 is intermediate. B2 is upper intermediate. C1 is advanced. C2 is fluency, I think. So there is mention, if for example, if you can make sentences, if you can understand to any random guys, then I think you are a beginner where you can make little sentences. So according to this, I treat myself, I am at upper intermediate, like that. But I never participated in any test, so I can't say accurate way. The correctly in my level is intermediate or upper intermediate, I don't know. But according to the rules and regulation I have seen, I think I am at intermediate or maybe upper intermediate.
Nice. That's awesome. You said you read books, right? Do you read English
Yeah.
books?
Yeah, I read English books. I like to read self motivation book, like self help books, non-fiction books.
Yeah. Well, if you're reading books in English, your vocabulary must be very good.
Yeah, definitely. I read books, and why I can talk with confidently, because I have read a lot of books. So reading books really give a lot of confidence and knowledge. Even when we have a knowledge, we can speak without facing any trouble or like that. Without facing any hesitation. So So reading books is also improved English or vocab and also confidence. One of the most thing is confidence. I have met with a lot of people. They have well knowledge at English. They know the grammar, good or very good, but still they can't speak due to the confidence. They don't have confidence that they could speak English, and also they have a fear like that if they will make mistake, people will laugh, and
Yes,
so that's the
I
reason.
hear that a lot also. I encourage people, yeah, everyone makes mistakes. I would like to tell your audience that everyone makes mistakes, and the fear of making a mistake shouldn't stop you from practicing English. And if someone is going to judge you about a mistake that you make, then I don't think that's a very nice thing for that person to do also. And I don't think that should stop you from trying to practice. I think, like what you're saying, Sandeep, the practice is the way to gain confidence and fluency, and that small things like fear about judgment or making a mistake, that shouldn't be an obstacle. So please don't let that stop you. I encourage everyone to try to practice for fluency.
Yeah, that's great. Also, once upon a time, I was thinking that if I will make mistake, what people will think. But I motivate myself that I know that English is not our mother tongue or the things. If I will make mistake, it's okay. And after few days, I will enhance. I will increase my knowledge there. I will minimize my minimize knowledge and sorry, minimize mistakes, and I will enhance my English. So it's happen with beginners. Mostly the beginner, they want to speak, they have a hesitation if they will make mistake. So but they have to stay motivated, try to speak little sentences that could help to minimize the mistakes. If we make long sentences, paragraphs, in that scenario, we make mistakes because we don't have like a knowledge. We can make large sentences, large story at a beginning level.
Yes, that's a great point. And in addition to that, I think also that even if you, so people should try to talk even if they make mistakes. They should practice for fluency and not be scared about making mistakes. At the same time, people should also try to observe their own language and correct their own mistakes. So for example, if you're practicing with someone in English and you say something and you think, maybe I was incorrect there on the grammar, or maybe I used the word incorrectly, then that person should go check that sentence in a translator like Google Translate so that the next time that they say that sentence, they'll have the correct version. So this is a two-part statement. The first part is that people should be encouraged and practice for fluency. Don't worry about mistakes. And the second part is when you do practice, if you think you're making a mistake, check your own language with a translator so that you can improve and not repeat the mistake.
Yeah, that's great. Making mistake is okay, but repeating is not okay, not acceptable, because we are repeating mistake that we are not learning, not getting anything, not getting any lesson from our mistake. So definitely we have to be our own master. Self awareness. We have to and we have to what whenever we speak, we try to verify or check is there is mistake or not.
Yeah, exactly. And it's difficult. It's difficult to recognize your own mistake. So sometimes, like when I'm speaking in Hindi, for example, sometimes I'll be saying something incorrectly, but I don't realize that I'm being incorrect. It's only later that I realize. So it's difficult to recognize your mistakes, but once they are recognized, then it's important to make sure that you don't repeat them. I agree 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it's happened, in India, mostly talk about in India. So in India, a pronunciation problem. In India, we have a problem in pronunciation. A lot of, even when I heard to any people, they are speaking English, in some sentences, some word, their pronunciation is not good. Even we learn English from our, Indian culture, Indian teachers. So the same thing we do. So right now I'm trying to improve all the pronunciation. So it's happened sometime what we heard, and maybe it is wrong, so we try to repeating the same thing because we know that that is a correct. So once we know
Yeah,
that it is not correct, sorry, it is not good, it is not right, it is wrong. So yeah, whenever I realize that I was speaking wrong sentence, wrong pronunciation, and when I aware, I try to use the right one.
that's great. That's so good, Sandeep. That's a great method. And I think your good method is why you've made so much progress.
Yeah, definitely. Even when I connect with any random peoples from India, they always say you get this label in just a few months, like 6 7 months. How is it possible? So the possibility is only, I talked 2 to 3 months to native speakers on daily basis. Earlier I used to host a party at night for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, and we on that party, people, mostly people from India, but they are living in another part like UK, US, Germany, Italy. All are my friend, and also some from USA. They are native speakers. So in that time we connect or we talked more than 1 hour, 2 hours. So just talking to that, I get this fluency level.
That's so wonderful. I'm happy for you. It shows that practice really helps for fluency. So, people who are concerned about their fluency level, the secret is to practice. The more you practice,
Yeah.
the better you'll get. I often say in Hindi, भाषा एक कौशल है जितना अभ्यास आप करें उतनी आपकी अंग्रेजी सुधर जाएगी. I often tell people that, and I believe it's true. I think that language is a skill, and the more you practice, the better you get at it, the better your English will become.
That's great. Yeah, actually, practice make perfect, make men perfect. So definitely we need to practice. Practice means excellent or extraordinary and experience. All we get just doing the practice. So it's happened. I also realized when I was beginner, I was speaking and my pronunciation was not good that time. So making repeating and shadowing technique also help a lot when we when we try to repeat to native speakers.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, repetition and native speakers, these are great methods for learning a language. And I recommend them to your audience. And you can find the native speakers on good platforms like Hello Talk, and Tandem is also a great platform. And you can find a native speaker, you message a speaker there, and then the speaker will respond. And then you can suggest that you have a voice call or voice messages, and that's a great way to practice speaking. So it's for anyone who's wondering how to get better at fluency, how to overcome the fear of speaking and learn to be fluent. Go to one of these platforms, message a native speaker, and then suggest that you have a voice call, and then practice as much as you can. And that's a great way to get better. If that's not available, a second option, like I've mentioned earlier, is to find someone else who's a second language learner who wants to practice.
Yeah.
You can find someone at tuitions or in a friend from a friend, and practice with them. But like Sandeep and I keep saying, that the trick is to practice as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And ultimately practice is one of the good thing because we know English very well. When we talk about in India, so in Indian education system, they focus on only reading and writing. They don't focus on speaking and listening. That's why, we Indian learn English since childhood. We have been learning English since childhood. When I was in just two, maybe 3 year, 4 year, I have been learning English since childhood, but still I can't speak. The reason behind, because Indian education system, they don't focus on speaking and listening. Just they focus on writing, how to get good marks, and just reading, writing. The
Hmm.
the reason behind
Hmm.
this.
Hmm. Interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing the information with me.
Yeah, and we know the fundamental of any language: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. but we do only in India only our education system they follow only two half things. They don't follow the full.
Yes. I
Yeah,
understand. Sandeep, I would like to tell you that in English, as with any language, the four skills that you mentioned, the reading, writing, speaking, and listening, they can be divided into active and passive categories. And the active categories are when you generate the language, when you create the language. And the active categories are speaking and writing. And then the passive categories happen when you just listen or read, meaning you're not generating the language, but you're understanding the language. And typically people say that if you can generate a language, then you can do either one of the active skills. So if you're able to write in English, then theoretically you should be able to speak in English too. So I think that's probably what the Indian education system is aiming for. However, I think you're correct to say that without some practice, then it's very difficult still. But my understanding is that most Indians already know good grammar and have good vocabulary because they've been learning reading and writing since they were
yeah,
children, but they haven't translated that or transformed it into the other active skill of speaking. But it's not too hard. The infrastructure is already in place. They just have to use it. That's why I think that these language platforms are, and practicing with native speakers is the trick for many people who already know grammar. Now there are many types of English speakers who don't know the grammar, who
yeah,
still need.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. When we talk about Indian, so Indian speaks English very well. Whenever we connect to any other people from other country like Russia and other country, so like Russia, Germany, so they always say like Indians are good at English. So yeah, definitely we are good because we are learning everything, every subject in English, apart from one subject that is language paper, Hindi or Sanskrit. In our education system, Sanskrit is not there. If you want to Sanskrit, if you want to learn Sanskrit, then we need to attend some extra classes, or maybe need to join any other school, or online classes, that like the things. So our all paper except Hindi paper, all are written in English. We learn in English language. So the reason we know we have a good vocabs and also good grammar.
Yes, but some people don't know grammar at all. Some people it's new to them. So oftentimes people ask me, is grammar necessary for speaking? Do I need to know grammar in order to speak English? And I typically say yes, you need to know basic grammar. For example, you need to know the tenses of verbs. If you want to talk about the past tense, you should be able to conjugate the verb or a verb to the past tense. Or if you want to talk about a plural noun, you should be able to change the noun to its plural form. So that kind of basic grammar is necessary in order to speak English well, in order to speak it correctly. But I don't think advanced grammar is necessary, but basic grammar is necessary. I think that's an important point. And some people don't know grammar and they still have to learn. And so I suggest using tools like websites or YouTube videos, or you can even buy a grammar book at your local bookstore and read your grammar book. And as you're reading the chapters, like let's say the first chapter in a grammar book is about the past tense, then in addition to reading the grammar book, you can also watch a YouTube video about the past tense. And that way you get double the learning, double the exposure to the information, and it's very helpful. So the answer to the question of whether grammar is necessary for speaking English is yes, but only basic grammar, and you can get it through different sources.
Yeah, definitely. Grammar is if I think only we can learn, we can speak the language which we have been speaking since childhood. which we are native in which language, we can speak only that language without using grammar. But if you are going to learn any other language, definitely we need to learn some basic grammar. Otherwise it create lot of problems. And there is a two way to learn English. First we need to visit on that country, that language speaking country. For example, if I want to speak English, I need to go like US, UK, to learn English without learning grammar, because I will live on that type of environment where everybody will speak English. So just listening, or listening and talking, I will learn without learning grammar. But if I want to learn from here, I need to learn grammar.
Yes, yes. I think for my opinion is that in both cases you need to learn grammar, even if you're living in a so we in English we call this an immersive experience, an immersive language experience when you're living in the country where that language is spoken. And even if you're in an immersive experience, I think basic grammar is necessary. So I think for everybody, basic grammar is necessary, unless, as you say, Sandeep, it's your native language, in which case probably it isn't necessary.
Yeah, definitely. uh, and okay, what will be the next question for the audience? For beginner, beginner, mostly people, they are beginner and they wants to start English, but they have a hesitation and lack of confidence how to start. They have to start speaking. Once they start speaking, they could be continue, but they have a hesitation, like a fear of making mistakes. So how they can
Yes.
start, and how they could motivate themselves?
Yes, there's a number of ways to start. One of the ways is to practice speaking by reading out loud. So if you write something very easy, it doesn't have to be complicated, it can be easy. If you write something easy, then if it's about, I don't know, say 10 sentences long, then just read it out loud and practice saying the words. And then, if you can, recall some of it from memory and practice saying the words again. And then, after that, after practicing reading out loud, then start with very small sentences, such as, my name is Colin. I am from the USA. I like to read books. My favorite movie is Jurassic World. Very basic sentences like
Yeah.
that. And then once you get the very basic sentences easily, and they're correct, then all you have to do is make it more complicated. But for the people, to answer your question, for the people who are at the very beginning, who don't know how to start, I think the best way is to read out loud, and then transition from reading out loud to practicing with small easy sentences.
Yeah, definitely. When we are even if I want to teach to some kids English, that means that I want to teach, they could speak English, so I will prefer to teach in a basic way. First I will try to teach some vocabs. They have to use vocabs while speaking. For example, they will speak Hindi, but they have to use some English word. And after that I will teach to make a little sentences, just little sentences, that I am watching TV, I'm looking, I'm eating, I'm writing, I'm studying. That's the things they can speak while making conversation. After that they can make long sentences, long sentences, paragraph. And I think it is the best way to speak English, because without facing any hurdle or any struggle, they could speak English just enjoying the process.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it is
I
the
think.
best way to teach English in any school, any mostly in a school. If I want to teach English, I want to make make understandable to a students, I will try to teach some vocabs. I will tell you use vocabs while speaking even your native language. Next one, you have to make the sentences. Whenever you have to say something, just speak full sentence. And again you have to you have to speak, you have to complete your all sentences, all conversation in English. Maybe it takes time, but it's okay, you have enough time. It takes a few years, it's okay.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it does take years. I think a realistic expectation for your audience is that if you're a very beginner, it will take you a couple or a few years to get decent at the language. And then after that, you can try to move from the intermediate to advanced level if you want. So it doesn't happen like sometimes people message me and they say, I have a job interview tomorrow. Can you teach me how to speak English? And I think, well, I want to help you. I want you to do well at your job interview, but I don't think that one day is enough time in order for you to get better at English. Maybe you can learn a word or two, but to really improve it, it does take time. It's on the scale of years.
Yeah, definitely. It's also happened. Sometimes I connect with some random guys. They always say, "I have interview. I have to pass my IELTS exam in just few days." So they don't have serious about this. So the reason behind they need to in also in India it's happened. In India there is no English environment. So some people they learn English, but after learning they forget. Why? Because they don't use in their daily activity because there is no such type of environment. So mostly it's happened. So so we to be consistent, to be stay the in this journey we need to be, or language journey is kind of the language learning is kind of the journey, not destination. So I think we need to be continue. We need to talk maybe on daily basis, not on daily basis, but at least 2 or 3 days in a week. Otherwise we will forget very soon. Even when I stop talking for few months, sorry, few days or some weeks, I feel that my level is going to decrease. So it's happened with me also.
Yes, I understand. The same thing happens to me with Hindi.
Hmm.
But yes, I think that's why I recommend to your audience to write 10 sentences every day and check them with Google Translate. If you write 10 sentences in English every day and you change the grammar that you use, sometimes it's in the present tense, sometimes it's in the past tense. Maybe there's a conjunction for a complex or I'm sorry, a compound sentence. If you use different grammar and you write 10 sentences every day, then it helps you not forget the language. It helps keep it fresh in your mind, which is very useful, especially when you're trying to transition from writing to speaking.
Yeah, definitely it's necessary to be consistent. Otherwise it's happened in every field, not in language journey only. Even what we are doing, like even solving in every field, mostly it's happened. So we need to be continue. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what will be the next?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What uh let's see. So on my language channel, when I'm teaching English, my idea for videos is to
Yeah.
first to mention one grammar rule. So, for example, let's pretend that a video is about making nouns plural. Well, the rule for making a noun plural in English is to add an s. So, for example, the noun car is singular and it becomes plural by adding the s to the end of the word. Car becomes cars and the
Yeah.
s is plural. Now, sometimes you have to add an es, and then sometimes there are other words that don't change by adding an s or an es, but they have a different form. So, for example, there's the word mouse, and the plural mouse is singular, but the plural of mouse is not
Nice.
mouses, but it's
Yeah.
mice.
Nice.
It's a different form. So I think what I'll do in my videos is I'll mention a grammar rule, such as the way to form a plural noun from a singular noun in English is by adding s, but sometimes there are exceptions. So that will be the grammar part of the video, and then after that I'll mention sentences that exemplify the grammar rule. So for example, I might say I like to drive in my car, and car here is singular. But then I'll make it plural. I'll say on the road there are many cars, and cars here is plural. And then I'll go through many examples. I think that's how I'm going to do videos on my English teaching channel. Do you think that's a good idea? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, that is a great idea. Mostly if you teach in a small sentences, a small sentences, or maybe one rule in one video, so people will enjoy. They don't want to watch entire video, like 1 hour, 2 hour complete grammar. They don't like to watch. They like to watch in a short or some tricks, because when we talk about the grammar section, so mostly they hate grammars. Even when I was in a school also, I don't like that time I was not liking grammar, but right now I am liking, because I have to enhance my English, I have to improve my English. But even I'm a teacher, I already told you. So whenever I teach English at a school, so mostly students, they don't like grammar. Yeah, if I will teach in a perfect way, I try to teach in a interesting way, like attractive way. There they engage and they enjoy solving the questions and converting in different sentences, like how to convert one sentence in another form. So we try to make in a interesting way, then only audience will attract and they will enjoy.
Yes, I agree with you that the complete grammar videos are not very good and that people prefer short and simple and easy videos.
Yeah.
And so, because grammar is difficult, and I remember studying grammar also, and sometimes you study grammar and you still don't understand. And so it's very difficult. Uh, but it is understandable. So if you can find a trick to learning, then it's very helpful. And I think part of the way to make it accessible is to make it short and simple, just like you're saying. And so for my videos, I think I'm going to have a short and simple statement about a grammar rule, and then lots of examples that illustrate how that works.
Yeah, definitely. Because we know we grammar is okay. If we enjoy grammar, we can learn a lot of but speaking English or learning grammar is totally different. When we learn grammar, we learn like we are have to paper, we have to pass the paper, I will get some question. So mostly that's why the reason behind I teach grammar at a school, then a student enjoy while they learn, because they have to learn, because they have to get marks, or they will provide marks that they learn. But when I say you have to learn grammar while speaking, so they don't give curiosity to learn grammar. It's
Yes,
happened.
it's a
Yeah, they
different
want to
it's
learn naturally, but naturally, how they can learn naturally? They need to go through with grammars, at least the basic grammar, but they need to go through the grammars.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you about both points. I agree with you that it's necessary to have basic grammar, and I also agree that when you're in the position of learning grammar, it's not fun. It's difficult. And so any way to make it easier is helpful. And that's what I'm trying to do on my YouTube channel for teaching English. It's called English with Colin, by the way. I haven't mentioned the name of it. It's called
Yeah,
English with Colin, and the point is to make grammar very easy, very accessible, so that you can have a little rule that's simple and then many examples that illustrate the rule.
yeah, definitely. It will help to audience to understand one rules in one day, and they can use while making conversation, or if it will be in a fun way, that will enjoy. Because when we saw, there is a confusion about where we have to use a and the. For example, I for example, I want to purchase a phone, and I want to purchase the iPhone. So even we have a some audience or some students, or maybe some people, they don't have idea where we have to use a and the. So while teaching the short way, for example, a use when we say the general, and the use when we say the specific one. For example, I want to purchase a phone. There is not decided which brand or I am going to prefer. But when I mention that I want to purchase the iPhone, so we use the when we say to a specific one, and A for general. So it is the shortcut way to teach grammars. You know, a student will audience will understand, and they will never forget, because it is a very simple
Yes.
way.
Yes, you're correct. You're 100% correct. That was a great example. So these are called articles. In English, the grammatical
Yeah.
term for these types of words are articles. And you're absolutely correct about the difference between them, between generality and specificity. And I think your short lesson was great. And then just add a few examples, and that's you could make a video too. You could be English with Sandeep.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, already we have connected, but first I want to improve my English. You know, I want to. Already I've told you that I want to. My mission, my goal to learn English. I want to learn totally, not a specific. For example, you know, whenever anybody they want to learn English, they have a specific goal that they need job. They want to go like UK, US, so they need English, otherwise they will face a lot of struggle. And the reason behind, they have a lot of, you know, they have a reason, but I have a lot of reason, or my motto to I break the barrier. You know, mostly in India we learn a study, but we study English since childhood, but later on we know that we have to learn how to speak English. But whenever I learn English, I will learn totally in all section not related to business, finance, job, uh, education. I want to learn totally. So the way of to connect with a good person, mostly native speakers, I enjoy to, you know, earlier. And one more question. Still, you know, when I watch any British movies, I don't understand. Maybe I understand 70%, 70 to 80%. But whenever I watch American movie, I understand 100% without using subtitle. I understand. I don't use subtitle while watching American movies. But when I watch British movies, still I face problem to understand their accent, or not accent, yeah, accent as well as the pronunciation well.
Yes, it's a different accent. The American accent and the British accent are quite different. There are many differences, but one of the differences is that the British tend to aspirate their T's. So, for example, if there's a letter T, a British person typically says "ta," whereas an American person will typically say something like "duh." So, for example, um, if you have the word mustard, like a mustard seed, a British person will say something like mustard, and they'll put a lot of aspiration on the "ta," but an American will say something like mustard with more of a "duh" sounding instead of a "t." So that's one of the differences that makes it difficult. Uh, the in America, we have a popular understanding of the British accent, that it's supposed to be very sophisticated. So if you ask an American what they think of the British accent, most Americans think that the British sound very sophisticated in their speech. So that's kind of, but it is different. And then I think the American accent, it might be thought of by the British as kind of a newer type of speech, maybe typically associated with the Californian dialect or pronunciation accent style that is typically seen in Hollywood movies and in TV shows. So they are different types of accent, and the way to get better is to practice both of them. So I think it's good that you're listening to British movies and that you're also listening to American movies. And with time, I think you'll learn to appreciate the British accent also. It's really quite beautiful, in my opinion. I think it's a beautiful accent.
Yeah, British accent is a beautiful accent. Even uh, whenever I ask to my friends, one of my friends, he right now he's in UK. He's doing his master degree. So he suggested me to learn. If you want to learn accent, you should learn to British accent, because British accent is acceptable all over the world. And mostly when we talk about in India, we use British English, because we know the history of India already. There earlier, before 1975, there was British rule. So so we use British English. British English means, the some words. British American English is similar, but in some words little there is little bit different. For example, in color, in color the spelling, in British English there is U, Color, but in American English there is no U, Color. So in British, and our also the pronunciation in, we say water, but Americans say water, British say water.
Yes,
So
yes. There are many
yeah,
differences. There are differences in spelling, there are differences in pronunciation, and there are even differences in the types of words that you use. So, for example, a very common word in British English is mate, Mate. Like you'll call your friend your mate.
yeah.
But it's more common in America to say bro, BRO. So you'll hear someone say, "What's up, bro?" in America, but in British accent or in the British English, they'll say, I don't know what they'll say, but probably they'll say something with mate, "How you doing, mate?" or something like that. I can't do the British accent. My accent is 100% American. Although I do try to aspirate my T's. I think that's one nice thing that the British do.
Yeah, definitely. But one thing I can say, mostly on YouTube or internet, 70 to 80, even a 90% content information available in American English and in American accent. Whenever search anything, I found in American accent. It is difficult to find British accent or British content on internet. Really difficult.
Yes, I think part of it has to do with the population difference. The population of America is, I think, 4 or 5 times as big as the population of Britain. So there's just more of us. There's more Americans. So I think we create more content.
Yeah, the reason behind. So that's why we become familiar. I think Indians become familiar in American accent, because they could understand American accent very well. Because whenever they watch any videos, any movies, mostly they are made or created by an American or by the Americans. So we could understand perfectly. There is no issue while talking or listening to any British guy, sorry, American guys.
Yeah, that's great. I'm really happy that people like the American accent. I think it's a nice accent too. Or earlier,
Yeah.
I called the British accent beautiful. I think it is, but I find the American accent very warm and accessible. I find it's very nice too in its own way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, actually, to learn British accent, I watched some series like, uh, Daily English, and also I have, list. I followed some British content creators, so they had shared a list. If you want to learn British accent, you need to watch this series. So definitely I follow this series. So yeah, it's help to be familiar in British accent too. So accent is nothing, just try to understand the pronunciation. For example, even I speak in Indian accent right now, and you are speaking in American accent, but we can make communication. There is no any language barrier. So we can see that there is no more importance of accent. If we producing or making our pronunciation is well, then okay. If we spell, if we pronounce the words correctly, then no need to learn any accent. But if anybody want to learn accent, wants to learn, then I think they need to go in any which one they wants.
Yes, that's a good point. And then also I mentioned it earlier, but there's an app called Elsa Speak that helps with pronunciation. So if anyone wants to learn how to pronounce a word in a certain style, in a British style or an American style, you can use Elsa Speak. It's very helpful.
Yeah, also speak, right. I will
Uh,
also try and follow.
it's called Elsa, ELSA.
Oh, else, okay, else, Elsa,
Yes, Elsa Speak.
okay.
Well, Sandeep, it's been a nice conversation. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's been very interesting, and I'm so grateful for you for the invitation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really so happy to find you in my podcast or conversation. Really, it was wonderful conversation. It was my first conversation where I talked up to 1 hours. There is showing 1 hour, 1 minute 40 50 seconds. So
Nice.
definitely, it is a wonderful conversation. I will never forget this conversation, and we will connect not regularly, but we will be touch and we will connect again very soon. And
Sounds good.
definitely you will help me a lot to learn and level up my English. Definitely, I'm very pleasure, I'm really so happy. I can't say in any word. So how much I'm happy, really I'm so happy. So yeah, really thank
I'm
you.
happy too, Sandeep. I'm so happy too.
Okay, so have a nice day, because I think in USA there is morning and